Not taking the chances when you're that lucky is unfair to people that don't have those chances, and you should take those chances if you can, because realistically the fall is not very high. You're only going to fall half a step when you live in a country like Australia or any other developed country, where, you know, when somebody in Kenya takes that kind of chances, their fall is pretty big. They become a farmer, and that's why you see a lot of success from those countries, you know, especially in the running, is because they got no second chances. And when you put somebody in the corner, then you get to see how great people are.
That was Vlad Ixel. Vlad Ixel is a vegan ultramarathon trail runner for the North Face team and for the Australian trail running team. He's won over 80 running races, ranging from 5k road races to 100k trail races. Vlad is currently ranked number 1 in the world in his age group at the 70.3 Ironman distance and is the Australian duathlon champion. He is also a running coach for the North Face and involved in running shoe development for them as well. Vlad has been vegan for the last 7 years, and all of his running achievements have been accomplished on a plant-based vegan diet. I'm very happy to have him joining me in the studio today. Well, thank you first of all for joining me. Really appreciate it. Have you been for a run this morning?
Yeah, I just finished the run, and I mean, I pretty much do it every day, so, you know, it gets easier and easier the more you do it.
What time do you get up each day to go for your run?
I don't get up too early because I need that sleep and recovery. So usually on good days is no alarm, so it could be anywhere between 7 and 9 even. So there's some days that I sleep for 12 hours because my body just needs it, and I know when I set up alarms, it's when I start having like little pains and aches in my legs. So I play around with that. So I might do like a few weeks with 6 a.m. alarms and then, you know, a few months without any alarms, which is pretty nice.
So have you learned over time to just listen to your body? Is that something that's come with time, or?
Yeah, I mean, I really like kind of having a 6 a.m. or a 5:30 start. But yeah, I just realized over time that when I do that, even though I get a lot out of my day, my body is not recovering as well as what it should be. So yeah, kind of no alarms is probably the best way to go when you're an athlete and you train, I guess, 5 or 6 hours a day.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe talk me through like a typical morning routine? Like, what would your morning routine look like? So you get up, you know, when you obviously body tells you to, and then you chuck on your running shoes. Are you just straight out the door, or do you head somewhere to run, or what does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, depends really. Some days I would have breakfast before I go out for a run. You know, most days I would do a quick yoga session before I go out, and then my training is you know, I mix it up quite a lot. So some days I'll just run out of the door. Some days like today, you know, I'll go and spend 2 hours on the stairs. Some days it might be at the gym in the morning. So I kind of mix it up.
And is that for any particular reason? Is there any reason why you decide you want to mix it up like that?
I mean, I think that our body really, my body improves when I don't have like a set training that I do the same thing week after week, day after day. So mixing it up kind of gets my body guessing. And I think that that's when we improve. Once we get used to something, the improvement, it just kind of plateaus a bit. So by kind of surprising your body every day, your body has to stay on its toes and kind of, you know, adapt quickly and improve probably faster.
And is it just a lucky dip? How do you decide?
I try and kind of like, you know, be smart about it. So like, let's say yesterday I did a race in the morning with a lot of elevation and like a hard effort. And then in the afternoon I did like a bike ride, like an easy effort and an easy run. And then today was going to be like an easy effort, but a longer session.
Okay.
So I kind of, I mean, you can't do the same workout day after day. You can't just go as hard as you can, you know, every single day, because your body will break down. So if one day I run on the trails, maybe the next day I'll stay on the road or on the grass or, something a bit different than what I did the day before.
And is that a piece of advice you'd offer to, aspiring athletes, is to mix it up to avoid plateauing and to getting bored? Is that something you advise people to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, most people would have their 5K loop around their house that they do 3 or 4 times a week, and years down the road and they're at the same level. If the goal is to improve, I would make sure that maybe some days you go longer, some days you go faster, some days you run on uneven surfaces, maybe add in stairs, treadmill, mix it up. Don't get used to the same thing.
Okay. And in terms of, because you're obviously a runner, so are there certain things you avoid in terms of exercise? I'm assuming like weightlifting and things like that, or are there things you avoid or things you recommend specific to?
Yeah, I mean, when you want to be a competitive runner, like, every kilogram extra that you have on your body slows you down. So, as nice as big arms look, they're going to slow me down. So, I don't do too much weights. I do a lot more body weight stuff and balance work and stability work. But, not too much weights. I mean, if you're not a competitive runner, it looks nice if you have big arms, I guess, and you're healthy. But, in kind of long distance running or, every gram slows me down. So, that's why I have such skinny arms and
it's interesting
60 kilograms.
Because I read somewhere that you used to lift weights before you became vegan, before you got into running, and so obviously at one point you were focusing on that side of things. Was that?
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
I mean, I was a 20-year-old, 20-year-old student living in Australia, where going to the gym back then, this is 10 years ago, was like the main thing.
Okay.
And, I mean, realistically, we all know why young men go to the gym, to impress women. And, that's what I did. And in many ways, I thought I was healthy. Like, I would look in the mirror and I would look healthy, but realistically, I couldn't run to catch the bus. Like, I had no energy. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't feeling too well most of the time. I was addicted to caffeine and nicotine and alcohol. So, I mean, I think that's, it's changing now. I think that there's less kids probably going to the gym now, and they're doing a bit more kind of athletic training, which might be CrossFit and all that kind of training now. But back, when I was 20, it was all about gym and looking big. And those are the days where I used to have 12 eggs for breakfast and whole chickens. And, all I cared was protein. Like, I would count protein. I was like, I need 2 grams or 3 grams of protein for a kilogram body weight. And, that's what all I would do. And then when I went vegan and obviously I started running, I just forgot about it. I didn't think about it. And, I was fine. I was just trying to eat healthy. And, suddenly I'm running twice a day. I'm running 20K a day. And, I'm recovering quickly. Mm-hmm. Until now, my protein consumption is really low. I don't think that I have as much as it's recommended, even though I do 2 training sessions a day, 7 days a week.
Well, let's build our way up to that, because I feel like you've spoken about this a few times. But what I want to learn a bit more about is your journey there. So whereabouts did you grow up?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the old Soviet Union. And when I was 4, the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. My grandmother, being Jewish, we had a chance to leave Ukraine, and we moved to Israel in 1991. And grew up there till about the age of 13 and a half, almost 14, and that's where I moved to Australia.
How was that experience of growing up there, culture-wise?
It's definitely tough. I came up with nothing. Like, super poor family, and my parents didn't have the money to enroll me in any sporting teams or anything like that. And we lived in a really tiny place in Israel, so it was tough. But also those kind of places shape you up to the person that you are today as well. So as much as it wasn't a fun time, I guess, I'm pretty grateful that I had it, because my outlook on life is different because of those experiences.
In what way?
I think that I appreciate things, you know, even like basic things like spending time with my wife, or like, spending time with my family, or having money to go out, or to a restaurant, or, I mean, I'm not obviously rich or anything, but, having the ability to kind of buy things, which I never had. Like, my parents never had that. And, it's not like for a year or two they were kind of poor. It was for like, 12, 13 years. So, and probably a bit longer after that. But yeah, so I appreciate those things. And also, like, my outlook on life is that when you think that things are bad, there's a lot of other people in worse situation than you, and then suddenly what you think is bad is not that bad at all.
You get a unique perspective.
Definitely.
A real life perspective, because you lived it.
Yeah.
As well, it's one thing to think about people in another country that aren't living as well as you.
Yeah.
But if you've come from that, that's something you can remember and think back to.
And it also makes me appreciate living in Australia. Like, I've traveled to probably at least like 100 countries, and this is the best place in the world. And I feel so lucky to be here. And, sometimes I feel that, I mean, obviously people that were brought up here and grew up here don't really understand how lucky they are to be living in a country like this, where there's a stable government, it's safe, there's no corruption, there's no crime, or like not much crime. You can have a house and you can have a job, and, a lot of places on earth are not that good. So yeah, that definitely makes me appreciate living here.
For sure. And so what was the reason for your parents moving? Did they just want to start a new life? Why did they pick Australia,
I guess one of the main things is that my mom didn't want me to go to the army. So in Israel, it's compulsory to go to the army for female 2 years, for male 3 years. And, back then, there was a lot of conflict. Like even now, there is a lot. But like some of her friends, their kids died in the army. And she obviously knew that I'll probably be like, on the front lines of the army. So yeah, she just didn't want me to go to the army, and she did everything she could to get us out of there, and yeah, we managed to get out of there.
Did you think about that do you remember thinking about that when you were living there? Like, I might have to go off and do this, or did you just have it in your mind that you weren't going to have to do that? Or was it neither?
Yeah, I was 13, I was 13 and a half when we left.
Right.
So I was still like 4.5 years away.
Yeah.
It's obviously a big part of life there. So you see it everywhere. There's soldiers walking around with guns everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's coming. I also don't think it's a bad thing. I think that, my dad went to the army in the Soviet Union, and he went for 2 years, and he didn't come back home for 2 years. You kind of go for 2 years. At least, in Israel, it depends where you are serving, but you might come home, once a week or once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so yeah, I was kind of aware of it, but it was a little bit too far away. I think my mom, obviously being a little bit older at the time, she kind of understood it a little bit more, and the fact that it is dangerous. And yeah,
did you have friends that you had around that time that ended up going? Like, do you have anyone that you've kept in touch with or anything like that? Or
100%. So everybody from my class, some of my best friends, they were like in wars, and some of them come back from it, not the same people. So I see it today when I go and visit them. Those kind of events change them. Being, I don't know if it's forced, but being in situations where you've killed a few people, you come back and you see some terrible things. It definitely changes you. So yeah, I had a couple of, most of my friends, everybody that I know went to the army because it's compulsory. But yeah, a lot of my good friends went to the kind of front lines. And yeah, it's definitely not a fun place to be. My brother went to the army and he was there for 8 years.
Wow.
But he was in like intelligence.
Okay.
So, it's different, it's not like the front line. But I was definitely not smart enough to be able to be there. So, you know, kind of, I thought, like, you know, thinking about it, probably my faith would have ended up being like, you know, probably where the not so smart people are on the front line.
Wow. Well, lucky that your parents moved here. And I guess, what was life like for you when you first got here? It must have been, did it take a bit of time to adjust? Or I guess at that age, pretty quick to adapt?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of 13, 14 age is when you start making some of your good friends for life.
Okay.
So living in Israel was not something that I really wanted to do. Even though I kind of understood, look, Australia's going to be a better life. But back then I had my friends, you know, I had my school. You know, I was still far away from understanding how bad the country is with, like, you know, corruption and, you know, crime and all that. You know, I was still pretty young. So for me, I didn't really want to move in the beginning. But then moving here, you kind of realize, wow, you know, this is different. You know, even going to school, when I was in school in Israel, we had like 2 PE classes a week, and they were like 45 minutes, and there was just like us with the soccer ball playing. You know, and I get to Australia and there's like a swimming pool in the school, and, you know, we go sailing and kayaking in school and playing basketball and tennis and badminton. I was like, whoa, I thought you can only play one sport. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of something that I definitely enjoyed about Australia, you know, spending more hours in like, you know, physical education classes.
For sure.
Having the space here, you know, I always wanted to play tennis when I was young, and in Israel we had like when I grew up in Haifa, which is a big city, 3rd biggest in the country. We had like 1 tennis club in the whole city.
Wow.
So I had no chance to ever play tennis, and then here, you know, every suburb in Perth's got a tennis club.
Mm-hmm.
And every single club's got like 20, 30 courts, you know. So, yeah, one of the first things that I did was actually get into some tennis here, which was pretty fun.
Oh, cool.
So
Something you'd been thinking about?
For a long time, yeah. I always wanted to play kind of tennis, but just not possible in Israel. And you know, even saying that, Israel is so much better than, say, Ukraine. So, yeah, I mean, that's when you realize how lucky you are to be living in a place where you can do things like that. You want to go and play tennis, you can. Because in Israel, you just can't. Like, you
Things we take for granted. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So straight away you get into some sports, you're playing a bit of tennis. Any running at that time, or was that not even, you weren't doing that at that point?
No, I mean,
ever for school or anything like that?
So I got into the school running team, and I did like a few inter-school meets with like athletics. But yeah, I mean, still at that point, you know, I was more kind of behind tennis. So I didn't really get into running, and yeah, I only kind of picked it up again at the age of 25.
Okay. So teenage years in Australia, trying different sports, finishing school, was there anything you got particularly drawn to in terms of sports, or anything you put more time into than anything else?
100% tennis. So, you know, I spent a lot of time playing tennis. I was a tennis coach after I stopped playing tennis. I moved to Melbourne to kind of be a full-time tennis player in a tennis academy.
Wow.
So I kind of missed out on year 10 and 11. So, you know, for somebody that didn't like school, and didn't really fit in the system, that was the best thing in the world. I didn't have to go to school for 2 years. But then I had some offers from like colleges in the US for a tennis scholarship. So I kind of came back to Perth and enrolled into year 12. But then after enrolling, I kind of dropped tennis and did a bit of coaching. But yeah, tennis was definitely my main sport. You know, I played like nationals, and yeah, it was fun. It was really a lot of fun, especially like living in Melbourne by myself when I was 15. You know, just playing tennis all day. I'll get to the courts at 6 a.m. and I would leave at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night every day.
Wow. And that perspective, having come from somewhere where you couldn't do it, would have probably given you that extra desire, do you think? Like, you know, you're just 100%. Like not taking it for granted. You're like, I can do this here.
I mean, I knew how much my parents invested in the fact that I would go and play tennis in Melbourne. It wasn't cheap. You know, I think back then they were probably paying like $400 a week for my coaching.
Wow.
Which is a lot of money. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I don't disrespect them by not giving it the best shot that I can. and my best shot was just spend as much as you can training, and that's what I did for quite a while. Mentally I wasn't there, maybe because I started playing tennis when I was 14, when most kids start playing tennis when they're 4. So like my game itself was good enough, but mentally I would just, my mind wasn't there.
Okay. And is it a sport where, you have, I guess you have some of the people that are in their mid-20s, 30s, I assume, but is it a young men's and young women's sport predominantly? In order, at a certain age, you need to be at a certain level, or else maybe you missed your opportunity, that kind of thing? Yeah,
100%. So it's the kind of sport that, when you are 17, 18, if you're not winning big junior tournaments around the world, or you're already a pro, you pretty much got no chance. There's a few that went through college and then became professional, and but yeah, I think about it, there's probably like 100 pro tennis players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
not
soccer.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, soccer, where there's every country's got a league, and every league's got 15 teams, and every team's got 20 players. So tennis, it is a tough sport, and there's a lot of like physically gifted athletes in the world,
mm-hmm.
but the top 100 that you see today are mentally incredibly strong, because there's so much stop and start in the game. So you stop, you play a point, you stop. So a lot of things, if your mind is not in the right place, it just goes to different places, and then before you know it, you lose another point and another point and another point. Where for running, it's like a stupid person sport. There's a start point and there's a finish point. There's no thinking. You just got to get to that point as soon as you can, as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Where tennis is, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start.
So then you finish up tennis. Was that for any particular reason? You just realized that you weren't really going?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't put my parents through, get them to keep paying for so much money and,
mm-hmm.
and sacrifice so much, when I started seeing that mentally I just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And I could train for 10, 12 hours a day, but mentally I wasn't there. So it was definitely hard kind of giving that up. And, after retiring from tennis at the age of 17, I went through 7 years of kind of trying to find myself, because for 3 years, all I did every single day was play tennis. And even before I moved to Australia, I always wanted to play tennis. So, I kind of got lost after it a little bit. I was a tennis coach for a couple of years, and, I was making like good money, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be on the other side of the net when I was, the kid on the other side of the net for so many years. And it wasn't easy.
So that period of time where you felt a bit lost, what did you try different things, or what did you spend that time doing?
Traveling. So I would get like a part-time job, work as much as I can, and then go and travel, come back, save as much money as I can, travel, come back. And then, did some TAFE and a little bit of study here and there. But, I was the world champion of like starting things and not finishing them.
Yeah, right. Just because they're things that you didn't, like, I guess, have that passion for? Like you tried it and then you realized you didn't have that? Or they just... I'm not sure. You're not sure?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a pretty solid case of ADD probably.
Okay.
Which doesn't help. I just... Like I can be like my addictive personality. So, a lot of the times I would do something and then I would try something else and I'm like, I'll drop everything else and do that new thing that I've started. So kind of what happened with my running, I guess that kind of slowed me down, but, in many ways it was a fun time. The kind of growing up kind of time.
So we're kind of coming up to probably around 23, 24. So you've been hitting the gym.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, from what I read, Christmas Eve comes around and you decide you're going to ditch animal products.
Yeah, so a little bit
before
that. A little bit before that was I did a trip with my brother. So at the age of 20, so I did exchange in Denmark.
Okay.
For 6 months, and that was like the unhealthiest 6 months of my life. Which, I would just get drunk every day, and for 6 months every single day I got drunk pretty much, And then I came back to Perth and I did a trip with my brother. So we got a van and we drove from Adelaide to Cairns. And that was this kind of post-army trip. So he finished like 8 years in the army, said, let's do this trip. And that's when kind of life got really simple. Like, wake up at a different location around, those amazing places in Australia on the coast. And life was just simple. We go for a walk, we go for a swim, we travel, and, just super simple. We were super poor. Like, we would eat baked beans and bread literally all day, because that was the cheapest food that we can get. But it was just so simple. So I kind of come back from that trip, and I kind of started questioning it a little bit, my addiction to cigarettes and alcohol. And so I pretty much started running. So I signed up to a marathon, quit smoking a few days before that. And I finished that marathon. It was painful, but I kind of got this high that I never had before from like going out and partying and drinking. I never had that high before. And that high was setting myself a goal and achieving it, no matter how hard it was. And it was really hard.
Had you trained for it?
I didn't train for it. So I did a couple of small runs a few days before the marathon.
Wow.
And I started okay.
And been a smoker as well.
Yeah, so I just quit smoking. So I thought, it was a few days before my 25th birthday. So I got to do it before I'm 25. And I kind of finished that marathon and I could not walk. Like, I finished the marathon. I was sitting on the grass there for probably 3 hours. It took me another like 1 hour to walk to the car. I was just in so much pain. But, achieving that goal was a high that I never had before. And I was happy for the next 3 weeks, even though I was still struggling to walk. I was just, I set myself a goal and I finally achieved it. And being somebody that was the world champion in not achieving things and not finishing things, this was a big step for me. So, before you knew it, I signed up to another marathon, and that was 5 weeks later.
Did you train this time?
I trained a little bit more. I ran a little bit faster. And then I kind of realized this is my addictive personality. I kind of realized, all marathons are going to be the same. I did one in Perth and the City to Surf one. So I Googled toughest race in the world. And it was a 250k self-supported race in the Atacama Desert in Chile. And it was a $3,500 US dollar sign-up fee.
Wow.
And it's a self-supported, so they only give you water. So you have to bring your sleeping bag, all your clothes for the week, all your food for the week. So I just signed up for it. You only had to pay like a deposit, which was $1,000 or something. I put it on my credit card and I signed up. And I started training. And I would run probably 40k a day, training with a backpack, because the whole race you do with like a 10k backpack, because everything you need is on your back. And at the same time, I would do a lot of research. So I was like, how to recover. I started getting into yoga. I started looking at my sleep position, like, I shouldn't be sleeping on my stomach. Started sleeping on my side. And, I looked at every aspect because, obviously it was a big investment for me. And I wanted to make sure that I get there ready. And one of the things was the diet. And I read somewhere, a vegan diet, can help you with recovery. So, and it was pretty much around exactly Christmas Eve. And, my dad was cooking steaks and I was like, I'll probably give it a miss, today. I was like, I tried this vegan thing for 2 weeks. And, my dad kind of laughed. Oh, well, you'll be back in 2 weeks. And, 7 years on, I'm still here. I couldn't lie to myself. Like, I tried it for 2 weeks and straight away I was sleeping better. I was obviously recovering better. I was less angry. I had more energy, So I just never looked back. And then when you also realize that it's more than just your personal kind of health and your recovery, then there's no way that I would ever go back. Knowing that the industry is not what people think it is. It's not grass fields and, happy animals. That's what I thought before. That's what the industry kind of paints it as. And realizing that, it has been the easiest thing I've ever done.
So do you feel like it was a decision you made obviously at first for health, and then as you felt better and better, did you just start to look more into it consciously? Did you look for that information, or did you just kind of learn about it from other people? How did you learn more about the industry?
Yeah, I mean, when I did it, it was 100% for health, like, selfish kind of, I just want to recover quicker so I can do another run. But then I would say probably 2 or 3 years into it, I got in a little bit deeper into the vegan community, and, you watch those videos and you see those things, you read that, and then you're starting to understand that this is a lot more than just your personal health. That's the environment, it's the animals, there's so many things to it. And I was angry at myself for quite a while that I did not become vegan sooner. Like, how come I just didn't know about it? And once I started going out with my girlfriend, she didn't know that as well. But once she found out and, she researched and she tried it, she went vegan overnight as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she just changed her life. And she's also like, how did I not know about it?
Yeah, you hear that a lot, don't you? A lot of people that are resistant at first to that idea of change. It's scary, the idea of having to, what do I cook? What do I eat? What socially, what will it be like? And then the thing you hear from most vegans is the only thing they regret is not going vegan sooner.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's good now with social media, that it gets out there probably a lot quicker, and there's a lot more information today. But I think 7 years ago it wasn't that much, because you don't see it on it's not on social media. So I was happy to learn about all of it and to kind of make sure that I'm not part of it.
Mm. And I'm dying to hear how you went in that race.
Oh, the one in Atacama?
How did you go?
I came second, so it wasn't too bad.
That's pretty good.
It wasn't bad.
Considering you did just done the one marathon.
I did 2 marathons.
Oh, you did 2 marathons, sorry. And then what was the distance between that first race and the third race? What length of time?
Oh, it's quite a long time. It's probably like 7 months.
Okay.
But it was like a full-on 7 months. Back then, I don't even know. Sometimes I'll look at, it's all online, obviously, so I look back at some of the runs that I used to do back then, and there's no way that I could do that today again. I was running 40K a day. Next day I'll run another 40K. And I struggle to do that now. So I think that back then I was just so hungry.
Did you know anyone around that time? Because I heard that there was a book that you read. It was a guy called Scott. What's his last name? Scott Jurek. And he released a book. And what was the book called?
Eat and Run.
Eat and Run. And when did you find that book?
Probably just after going vegan. It's a great book. I read it in 2 or 3 days. And I don't read books. I've read 20 books my whole life. So, me reading a book in 2 days or 3 days was a big achievement. Definitely a lot of inspiration. I got to meet him a few times, so he's a super inspirational guy. And I would like to say that he's been vegan for at least 20 or 30 years.
Right.
He was vegan in the early 90s, and he was winning all those ultra marathons only because of his diet. He's not a great athlete. He's I've ran with him, and with all the respect, he's not a great athlete, but is really smart the way he prepared things. So his diet was 100%, his training was 100%, and he achieved all of that just because he was just 100% ready for everything. And that book was super inspirational, and hearing his story and the way he was kind of experimenting with different things and his diet, and to achieve all those crazy runs. I'm a long distance runner. I've ran 7 100K races, but that guy was running 100 miles. The difference between 100K and 100 miles is an extra 60K. So 100K and 160K, that's a big difference. Mm-hmm. It's not like 5K and 10K, 100K can be 10 hours, 100 miles can be 24 hours. Wow. So he really runs long. And, probably about a year ago, I don't know if you heard it, he ran a trail in the US. I don't want to mispronounce it. It's probably 2,500 K. And he did it in 40 days or something.
Wow.
And he's probably getting close to 50 now. So yeah, incredible.
So he was a big inspiration for you early on.
Yeah.
Did he because I guess if you don't have an example of someone close to you that's vegan, or that's made this change? Did that really give you a lot of confidence in this decision to see that someone else was living that way and achieving those goals, or did you just go off your own personal experience with it?
Yeah, I don't think like it was that much inspiration, because by that time it wasn't like running anymore, so it wasn't competitive anymore. So it was kind of like it did all those great things, but that was like 10 years before it finished, like 10 years before I started running. So it's not like I would see him on social media posting, "Oh, I won a race, I did well in another race," or follow his training or anything like that. Yeah, back then it was just, I was just lucky, to run races. I was just so happy to go to different countries and run races, and obviously I'm super competitive, so I was always wanting to win. And as I said, it's a simple sport.
So what were some of the benefits you noticed? Because you said how much better you felt. What are some of the examples that you would give of the ways that you felt better?
I guess one of the things that people kind of, you always hear the sleep better, look better, whatever, your skin is better. I felt less aggressive. Like, I pretty much remember, like, driving and somebody would cut me off and, I would swear at them and just get angry. There's nobody around me, I'd still get angry. But yeah, after going vegan, like, those things just kind of pass. You just don't get angry as much. A lot less aggressive. Like, I was never aggressive, like, physically aggressive towards people. But like in my head, I might like judge people, or, kind of not in a nice way, I would judge them. So going vegan that kind of disappeared without even me noticing.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice it when, I could drive and not get angry if somebody cuts me off, where before I did.
Mm.
And obviously things like sleeping better, having more energy, being happier. Recovery from running is the main thing that I changed my diet for, and that, anybody that will go vegan would see the difference, especially as an athlete. I'm not a scientist, but like, let's say I do a run and there's so much energy in my body to repair the tissue in my muscle. If I eat meat and that takes that energy away from recovering the muscle, because it takes longer to digest meat, my body's not going to recover as quick. So, that was my kind of thing. I'm going to give it a try because that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked.
I've never heard of the aggression side of things, like
really?
Anyone saying that they had felt that before. But do you feel like that was more of a mind shift, or do you think it was biological? Because, I don't know, I guess if you've started connecting a bit more and you've made this connection that, what you put in your body is what you get out, you're becoming more conscious of, you're more mindful. Do you think you're also just becoming more mindful in general?
I kind of heard about it probably 3 or 4 years ago somewhere in maybe a podcast or an interview, and somebody said that, and they kind of said, yeah, I became less aggressive or less angry because what I was putting in my body wasn't hate.
Okay.
So there's so much hate in this industry, that, like you said, being kind of aware of what you put in, I think that kind of shows up, and you are what you eat. So, if you are eating, animals that were murdered, some of it has to show in some kind of a way. And
antibiotics, hormones.
That's right. Yeah.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
All those kinds of things you're consuming.
Yeah.
And also obviously the cholesterol and saturated fats and everything like that. So.
And I was eating a lot as well. Like, I think, I was only eating meat. Like, I did not touch a vegetable for my first 25 years of living. Literally, I would go to a restaurant and I would just get a steak. I wouldn't even open the menu. I didn't know there was anything else.
Okay.
And yeah, I would 1 kilogram ramp steaks.
Did you ever get your blood work done? No?
Back then I was going to the gym, so I had big arms and big shoulders, and I thought I was healthy.
Yeah.
But, if I would have continued like that for another 10 years, I would have struggled right now. I don't think I would have been in a good place. And as I said, I wish I would have changed it 10 years earlier.
We all wish.
Yeah.
When you meet someone that was, brought up vegan or born vegan, you just get jealous.
A little bit, I guess. I can't believe
in a
that
good
I
way,
ate
you know,
meat.
like
I
I'm
can't
happy
believe
for
that
them.
I ate meat. Like, I'm serious. Like, I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
And especially the amounts that I did as well. Like, I mean, I would go to the extremes, you know, whole chicken in Nando's and stuff like that, 5 days a week, you know. So I guess, you know, you multiply that hate that some people have by eating meat once a day to me eating it 3 times a day in large amounts. Yeah, it wasn't healthy. It wasn't good. So I became less aggressive and, yeah, a lot more understanding and calm. You know, so it's, yeah, one of the better things about it.
For sure. And what did you eat predominantly? Did you try raw at all? How did you find your way into the diet that you currently eat? Was it trying to take time?
Yeah, I mean, through 7 years of being vegan, it's kind of definitely changed. In the beginning, it was pretty much all raw, fruit and vegetables, because back then I was just like, let me eat just as healthy as I can. And my understanding of healthy back then was fruit and vegetables, uncooked. So I would just eat tomatoes, like cherry tomatoes. I might have a half a kilogram of cherry tomatoes for lunch. Back then I would have a lot of bananas. So most days like 20 bananas and dates. Just a lot of it. You know, today is a bit of a mixture. Like today I had a big fruit salad for breakfast. Probably have a big salad maybe for lunch, and for dinner now I go a little bit heavier. So maybe like sweet potatoes, some rice. But yeah, it's definitely kind of, yeah, I mean, now with all the good plant-based burgers and stuff like that, you know, that's definitely became a bigger part of my diet, and, you know, I'm enjoying it. It's just good, tasty food.
What percentage did you kind of work on, any kind of percentage-wise, or you just go off what you feel like?
Just what I feel like.
That's good.
The thing is that I burn so many calories, and I require a lot of calories. You know, I probably consume 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day, which is a lot of calories.
It is, yeah.
So sometimes, you know, some of my calories are not healthy. Like if I have big training days, you know, I also work, like I spend at least 8 hours in front of a computer every day. There's some days I have like 1.5 liters of energy drinks. Like that's a lot of shit calories. You know, but there's there's some days where I have 3 or 4 avocados. You know, I probably have less bananas now. I don't know why. Maybe because I ate a lot of bananas for so many years. So I kind of now might have like 5 or 6 a day.
Which for most people is still quite a lot of bananas. What were you having before? If that's
yeah, that's right. I mean, I tell some people and they go, I have a lot of bananas. I have 2 at least a day. And I'm like, 2? I used to have 30 a day. Literally like 20 or 30 a day.
30 bananas.
Yeah. And when I spent some time in Israel, I spent like 6 months in Israel, and dates were so cheap. You know, I would have like 200 or 300 grams of dates a day. Like I'll be buying them, you know, 6-7 kilograms a week of dates. So just, yeah.
And a lot of people don't think, because I've gone into the whole food plant-based side of things, and it's just so interesting when you start looking at what's calorie dense and where you're getting calories from, and you know, in the Western world, or when you have a Western diet, you don't even think of fruits and salads as a meal. It's a side dish, or like you put it on your cereal, or you might eat an apple on a good day. It takes a little bit to get your head around the fact that, like 30 bananas.
It's a meal. Yeah, it's more than a meal.
It's more than a meal.
I mean, that's like 3,000 calories probably. Yeah, I mean, I think that if I wasn't burning so many calories, I would definitely kind of get into, you know, where my calories are coming from. I mean, a teaspoon of olive oil is almost 100 calories, and I have a lot of olive oil. But luckily enough, I burn so many calories, so I don't really have to kind of think about it. I mean, we all know that raw fruit and vegetables are the healthier, should be the biggest part of your diet, and I still kind of try and do that. But yeah, there's some days where I just have, you know, fruit for lunch as a whole meal. Just be fruit. Actually, like when I started running, there was a fruitarian guy, Michael Armstein, from the US. He was an incredible runner. He was like 6:50 for 100k on the road, which is super fast. 2:20 marathon runner, and he's 100% fruitarian. I don't know what happened to him now. I think they kind of retired. You know, he's late 40s. But I used to kind of look up to him because he would just eat fruit, like 99% fruit.
Mm.
And he was pretty wealthy man as well, so he ate like all organic fruit. And yeah, so I mean, back then I would eat a lot more fruit, definitely.
Okay. And so, you know, with your running, I guess you're an advocate for veganism now wherever you go. You know, you are vegan, and do you, when you travel, actively seek out, you know, vegan communities or vegan events, you know, or do you, if you go into places regularly, you know, go and visit a lot of the same vegan places?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for a long time, I didn't, like, you know, I always had, like, you know, whatever, vegan on my social network pages and stuff like that. But I wouldn't openly kind of wear, like, vegan t-shirts and stuff like that. But now I do a lot more because I don't really care what people think. I just didn't want people to judge me before. Especially, like, you know, if I do, like, a talk or something like that for runners, you know, I didn't want them to kind of think, oh, whatever, it's a hippie or whatever, you know, because that's a stigma type that vegans used to get a while ago. So, you know, now I definitely embrace it, and I try and get in contact with communities and runners, and try and do a lot more for you know, groups and stuff around places that I travel to. And yeah, I mean, I think that I should be doing a lot more as well, and I'm hoping to do a lot more. And it's good to see that it's growing, so it makes it a lot easier.
Do you notice it growing when you travel? Like when you go back somewhere, do you...
Yeah. I mean, even from like vegan runners, like I've seen so many people make that change, which is, yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see more and more athletes going vegan, not just the runners. But definitely, yeah, big groups. You know, I did like a thing in Thailand in a school where I think it was probably like 200 kids that went on a vegan challenge for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's definitely, yeah, it's good to see that it's getting a little bit more attention, and that I can influence some people.
For sure. And do you want to explain a bit about, because you're, you know, you don't just do road running, I'm not technical with the terms, but you're a trail runner most of the time, is that correct? You do mainly trail running. What is the difference, is it between the two? Is there anything you want to mention in that regard?
Yeah, I guess trail running is a lot slower than road running. So realistically, like, you know, I started running super late. Like by the age of 25, most runners that do well today, my age, you know, have grown up, you know, through the system of like high school running, primary school running, college running, you know, track field and stuff like that. So I don't have like crazy amount of speed. Like I might run 10K at 31 minutes. Some of the like top road runners do it in 28 minutes, 29 minutes. That's a big gap. Like 31 minutes and 29 minutes. Those 2 minutes is like Roger Federer and the guy 1,000 in the world, realistically.
Right. Because once you get to that level, it's like much of a muchness a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, that 1 minute can be the difference between you making, you know, a top 10 in a race or finishing 50th in a big race. But on the trails, you know, it's a little bit different. So it requires a lot more strength. Obviously, the races go for longer. So I mainly do like ultra marathons that are pretty much 42K and longer. So most of the races that I do are like, you know, 50K plus. So they usually take 6-7 hours. So I guess like the fast runners, they don't really want to get into it because, you know, instead of doing a 30-minute race, you know, suddenly you have to do a 6-hour race. You know, it's a different sport. But, you know, I kind of enjoy traveling to places that most people don't get a chance to visit. Like a few months ago, I ran a 100K race in Kazakhstan, you know, in the middle of nowhere. And most people might go to Almaty and Astana, but they wouldn't go to, like, you know, the backcountry of Kazakhstan for a race. Or like, you know, Tibet, you know, doing races around 5,000 meter mountains. So yeah, I think it's a different sport in many ways.
So you're more in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they mark the trail, I'm assuming, so you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And I once heard that you got lost
Oh, many
On
times.
a race in Singapore.
Many
It
times.
was a North Face race.
Yeah.
I remember 100k race, I think it was. And you went, I think, something like 7Ks in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about that experience of having to mentally get yourself back into that frame of, well, how you get your way back and just where you were at mentally? I just was really curious about that particular experience.
Yeah, I mean, so trail races are like getting lost is pretty common. You are in the middle of nowhere. You miss one marker that might be hiding behind like, a bit of bush, and suddenly you can go, off to the wrong direction. Like Singapore, that was like around midnight that I got lost, so like 2 a.m. And yeah, I mean, I can't see any more markers, and you think, is this the right way, the wrong way, and just keep running. Then you kind of find your way back like an hour later, and obviously there's a lot of disappointment because you do put in a lot of hours of training to that one race. Obviously back then with no sponsors, I paid for the flight, for the accommodation, for everything. So there is a lot of disappointment, but then again, all you can do, which I've learned now, is all you can do is on a single day just give your best. And if you get lost, whatever, you just do your best on that single day. And if you come with that mentality into those situations, you can just keep going. But I've got lost so many times. Like, in the last 7 years of running, I probably would have done, over 200 races. And I would say at least 10% of them I got lost. And that could have been, leading and last few K getting lost, or getting lost so badly that there's no chance of getting back into the race and catching a bus back to the start line. It is pretty common. Now with the new GPS watches, you can have like maps on your watch. So it is a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's all about like little mark. You miss one marker and you're off in the wrong direction. And some of those trail races, that's super technical and bushy. So you're looking down, you're not looking up. And
so you got to not only focus on the rough terrain,
yeah,
because obviously injury-wise, if you're not on a flat surface, obviously maybe for your knees it might be different. I'm assuming that dirt and everything would is it less impactful? No.
No. It's a lot less. So it's a lot softer on the body running on like trails and rather than the road.
Yeah. But then technically speaking, it'd be more technical in terms of where you put your feet and paying attention.
Yeah. So I mean, especially when you run it in a competitive race. So I've done some races. I've done like the same race 3 or 4 times, and then people would ask me, can you tell me about the race I'm doing it next year? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. All I do is like go as hard as I can. I look down. I don't look to the sides. I don't even know where I'm running. But that's a competitive kind of edge to it. So you have the risk of like, obviously twisted my ankles a million times. And, I haven't fallen over, which is pretty lucky, knock on wood. But yeah, I mean, it is dangerous, but most people go slow. So, I mean, you can't sprint through a technical section when you're in a 100K race, because you have another 12 hours in front of you. It won't be smart if you go super fast. So you kind of go slow through it. There's a lot of up and down. So I think most of the races that I do are pretty much categorized by elevation gain. So 100K on the road, I might be able to run it in 7 hours. 100K in Thailand with 2,000 meters of gain in the heat, I might do in 8 hours. 100K in Hong Kong with like 6,000 meters of gain might be 14 hours. So it's a lot about like going up and down, which makes it a little bit more interesting.
And then what about, are you at levels where it affects your breathing at all?
Yeah, I mean, you go through some painful patches. Like even the race that I did yesterday in Perth was only like 13K. But some of those steep hills, like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to, like if you stood at the top and me running uphill in a race, I wouldn't be able to say hello to you. I'd be breathing so hard, you go, are you okay? Like, I just go to places where I'm in so much pain in those races that, I can't do it in training, which is a bit weird. Like, I can't put the same amount of pain onto my body in training as I do in races, which is a little bit weird. But I think it's that competitive nature that comes out in races. And I get to points on the top of a hill that I'm literally like, I can't breathe and I look like I'm about to die. And this could be the first hill of the race, like literally half a K into the race.
So let's talk a bit about mindset, because you're talking about situations that most people would want to avoid. Most people want to avoid pain and suffering and discomfort, and you're choosing to go through it and go into it every time you run a race. So how do you, obviously physically we could talk about maybe the preparation physically, but maybe at this point we just cover how you mentally prepare for a race of that level. Do you do anything? Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? You do yoga, obviously.
I mean, that doesn't prepare you.
No.
I mean, this yoga is good for like, mobility and flexibility of your body. And I do it sometimes a bit of meditation, which just, gets me to relax a bit because my days are pretty busy. But the training and preparation for it is before I came down here. Like, this is Perth. It's like 33, 34 degrees outside. And I spent 2 hours just walking, running up and down stairs today. Which that's your preparation. Like, literally I'm in a space of 200 stairs just going up and down for 2 hours in crazy heat. That's the training. Or like, doing 2-hour treadmill runs. You get on a treadmill and you run more than 5 minutes on a treadmill, you go, this is not fun. And when you do it for 2 hours, it's really not fun. Or doing cycles at home, like, on my bike trainer at home for 4 hours. If you cycle for 4 hours and you haven't moved, you're still in the same spot. That's the mental training. And going back to being uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, I actually enjoy it. I enjoy being so uncomfortable because that's the rewarding part of finishing a race or doing well in a race, is that you really have to put your body in uncomfortable situation, painful situation. Like, every single race that I finish, I'm struggling to walk. Like even like this morning when I woke up, like it was painful. The first 20 steps, I felt like I was an 80-year-old man. But that's just part of it. And then, I did a little bit of yoga, drove down to the stairs, and, the first few steps of the running was a bit hard. And then, an hour and a half into it, and you're in new pain. Like, suddenly your hamstring is sore and your calves are sore. And it's a painful sport. And in many ways is just kind of self-reward to it. So, I don't make any money out of winning those races, very little kind of prize money. So, you don't do it for money or fame or anything like that. It's just that feeling, finishing a race, like it's the happiest, place that I can be at. And that's why I race so much. Like, I just finished 5 races in 5 weeks. Just because I enjoy the feeling of finishing a race more than racing in many ways. Like, I like that kind of feeling of going really hard for 5 hours, get to that finish line and enjoy that pain of not being able to walk for the next 2 days. I think that's what I'm addicted to. I don't think that I'm addicted to the pain during the race. I rather like kind of putting my body to the limit, pushing it to the limit, and then resting for a day or 2 days of pain.
And obviously in that period afterwards, when you're in pain, you have the satisfaction of knowing that you've achieved what you set out to achieve.
Yeah. And I've, as I said, I've done it 200 times, 250 times in the last 7 years, and I'm still as addicted as I am in the second marathon that I signed up to. And I still sign up to races, week after week. And that's just an addiction.
And so in terms of, because you hear about runners that will, I guess, set themselves crazy challenges. Maybe it's like 5 marathons in 5 days or an Ironman a day, all these different things. How do you stop from plateauing in terms of your running career, or your, like, do you try and set yourself, or is it just difficult enough to do 100k races that consistently?
I think that my motivation is living this lifestyle more than like winning a race. So I don't have like a list of races on my wall that I want to win. Never been like that. It's more about this lifestyle, which is wake up in the morning, do some yoga, go for 2 hours, stay running, whatever, come and talk to you, go and have some lunch, go for another run in the afternoon. That lifestyle is not many people get to experience that. And for me, as much as I like racing, I would rather just pick the lifestyle over the races. If somebody kind of, or you train or you race, I would say I just train, because I really enjoy that. I would like to do 5 marathons in 5 days in 5 different countries, but that's pretty expensive. Obviously I have some goals in my running, but the main goal is, to do this for as long as I can. And, I'm 31 right now. I think that I have probably about 9 years left. I've been kind of maybe semi-competitive or competitive. So I'm just really looking forward to this lifestyle and just challenging myself on daily basis, rather than like I don't have a race or like a goal that I'm kind of trying to achieve. My goal is to stay injury free. I think that's, I was sick 2 weeks ago, and not being able to run for 5 days was the worst. So for me, that's worse than coming 20th in a race. So I'd rather come 20th from now on in every single race for the rest of my life, but being able to train every day.
Right.
So
it's really the process, really, in a lot of ways. Like you've talked, it's interesting because it's like you've talked about the thrill of winning the race, which gives you this high, but then you're also saying that that's not really necessarily it's a part of it, but not the biggest. The biggest part of it is the lifestyle and the journey aspect of it as well, the everyday getting to do what you love to do. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's probably the bigger part, but they go hand in hand. And being competitive, I'm super, super competitive. So, obviously those races are just little bonuses, I guess. And I enjoyed racing, and I enjoy that kind of pain in races, and obviously winning. And to tell you the truth, if I go into a race and I know that I'm not winning, there's 5 guys in front of me that there's no way I'm going to catch, I put it back on first gear and just kind of roll around, because I know there's no way I'm going to win. So, I'm not putting the same amount of effort in, but I do know that the next day I'm going to go out there and train again. And that kind of keeps me motivated and to improve, I guess. I guess that kind of process thing, it sounds like I don't want to pressure myself to win. And in many ways, the fact that I've been doing a lot of smaller races rather than kind of concentrating on 2 or 3 big races a year, is probably also being a little bit scared of putting all my eggs in one basket. So a lot of races out there, a lot of ultramarathon runners, the really good ones, might do only 2 or 3 races a year. But if you train 3 or 4 months for one race, and you roll your ankle in the first K, and suddenly you have 6 months out where you've done nothing, I'm a little bit scared of going into that, rather than at the same time I could have done 20 races a lot smaller, and maybe I would have won 15 out of them. So I kind of feed my ego a little bit more so I can keep training the next day. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So I do enjoy the process, but I do need those wins to kind of, I guess, keep the motivation, because at times it's not fun and it's not easy. So I don't know, it's something that I'm not 100% sure if it's a process or the destination.
Yeah, it sounds like it's both, right?
A little bit, yeah.
And so what advice would you give to someone who is, wants to chuck on the running shoes, or is currently doing a bit of running, and they're looking at sort of improving over the next period of time? I mean, you can ask more specific questions if you want to know if it's going to be a different answer. But what advice would you give to someone who's mainly just getting curious? Maybe they're starting to train for a half marathon or pushing themselves. What advice would you give them?
I think just get outside of your comfort zone just a tiny bit. So don't try and if you're used to running 5K a day and you suddenly want to do a half marathon, don't just kind of, like he said, I need to train more, he's training a lot. Don't just kind of go and do a half marathon every single day, but rather look for that little kind of going outside your comfort zone. So maybe in your next run, the next hill that you see, I'm just going to go harder for 1 minute, and then come back to your comfort zone. So just look to get out of that comfort zone just a little bit, so you stay on the safe side. Because once you get out too far out of the comfort zone, especially in an impact sport like running, you will get injured. So you got to look for those little going outside your comfort zone, little by little, and over time it will grow and grow. And then adding things like strength and mobility and yoga, and improving your diet and your sleep, because it all goes hand in hand. And the more you're willing to sacrifice, the better you're going to do. Running is a simple sport. The more you put in, you can't lie running. If you don't put the training, you will see it in the results. You're not going to get the results that you want. that you expect. So, it's just by being smart of not overdoing it, because I think a lot of people kind of feel good on 2 or 3 runs and suddenly they go longer and longer and suddenly they get an injury. So it's going outside your comfort zone, but just little by little and giving yourself some time. But then not being scared to sign up then to that event and look at it as a training run as well. So a lot of people might kind of go, well, I'm not ready for a half marathon. You can sign up to the half marathon and you can walk half of it and run half of it. But that takes you one step closer to doing well in a half marathon that you might sign up to the next one in 2 months' time or in a month's time. So not being scared to sign up to races. For me, I've got like literally probably 15 races in front of me, like lined up every single, time I finish a race, I know there's another 10, 15 races coming up. And that makes it pretty easy to kind of stay motivated as well. So I think that also helps with motivation if you have a couple of races or goals in front of you. Taking yourself a little bit outside that comfort zone.
For sure. And you mentioned earlier about, that you, were funding a lot of your travel earlier on. And I believe now you've got some backing, some sponsors on board. Do you want to maybe talk a bit about how that came about and how that's helped you in terms of your journey?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, there was, back then when I was running 200K a week, I was going through a pair of shoes maybe every 10 days. That's a lot of shoes. Like, if you think that's a lot of money as well. Like, if a pair of shoes back then I would order it online was like $120, $130. I would order 10 at a time. That's a lot of money. I kind of knew if I want to take my running to the next level, I got to change my working hours. So I got a job like at the Fremantle Yacht Club where I would work nights so I can train the whole day. And then paying for all the races in the beginning when you have no sponsors is the chances you got to take. Nobody's not going to sponsor you if you sit on your couch and kind of think that you're a good runner. You need to go and win a lot of races. And, I won probably 20, 30 races before I got the sponsorship. And in the beginning, back then it's like, we'll give you free clothes and free shoes and we'll pay for like some flights. And I was like, wow, that's the best thing in the world. Free shoes, free t-shirts, free shorts, free trips for races. But I just kept on kind of working hard and my sponsorships got better and better. And now, I got out of that credit card debt that I was in. But that's kind of the risks that you got to take. And with anything, whatever you start a business, you got to take some risk. And, sometimes it's going to go your way, sometimes not. But the last thing that I wanted to do was not take that chance. I could have stayed in Perth back then and just done local races here, but I would have never got that sponsorship. So I had to take those big chances of doing races in different countries because I knew that's where the attention was. I mean, as beautiful as Australia is, we're pretty far away from everything. Winning a race in Hong Kong, you get a lot more attention than winning a race in Australia. Winning a race in Europe, you get a lot more attention than winning a race in Hong Kong. So, I kind of had to go through those stepping stones and, you had to pay for flights and accommodation and food and, sacrifice. I wouldn't spend money on clothes. I wouldn't go out, I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't, see a lot of my friends for a long time because I was willing to sacrifice for the chance that maybe one day this will pay out. And it did. I was lucky enough. And with a lot of things in life, the kind of harder you work, the less chances of things going right. But you gotta take some chances.
Mm. And I guess that's that thing of thinking about what am I really risking?
Yeah.
I mean, the gain, life experiences, getting to run these races, obviously spending the money. But money, you could always come back and work and pay the money back.
But that's why we're lucky to live in Australia. And if you live in a country like Australia, the US, whatever developed country you are, and you can get a job as a cleaner and make $25 an hour, if you're not taking your chances, you're pretty much disrespecting those opportunities that you're given here, because there's a billion people around the world that don't have this opportunity, that if they don't succeed in running like they do in Kenya, they become a farmer and they make $5 a day. You know, in Australia, the minimum wage is like $23, $24 an hour. You know, you should be taking a million chances. And that's what I knew. What's the worst thing that can happen? You know, I spend $10,000 and I put $10,000 debt on my credit card. I come back here, work as a waiter, and within a year I'll pay it all off. So there wasn't even realistically, it wasn't even taking a chance, because I knew that obviously traveling to all those different countries, experiencing all those different experiences, it's an investment for my future. So it was, I didn't think about it twice. I just did it.
And that comes down, I guess, as we talked about earlier, you've had this experience of going without and having this upbringing where those opportunities weren't there. And now it seems like you really don't take those for granted. And you seem very grateful, and to have this perspective, this constant reminder. Do you feel like perspective is a big thing in your life, or gratitude? Are these things you actively practice, or are they things that you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, English being like my third language, I never knew anything about the word gratitude till probably about a year ago.
Okay.
But I always had that mentality. I definitely had the mentality. I just didn't know how to express it or give it a word. I don't know how you say gratitude in Hebrew or Russian, so I never kind of had a word to it. But 100% is just understanding how lucky I am and how lucky I am to be able to walk pain-free, and how lucky I am to be able to run pain-free, and how lucky I am to be able to live in a country that, I can get an unqualified job and save enough money to do 5 races in different countries. Not taking the chances when you're that lucky is unfair to people that don't have those chances. And you should take those chances if you can, because realistically the fall is not very high. You're only going to fall half a step when you live in a country like Australia or any other developed country, where when somebody in Kenya takes that kind of chances, their fall is pretty big. They become a farmer, and that's why you see a lot of success from those countries. Especially in the running, is because they got no second chances. And when you put somebody in the corner, then you get to see how great people can be. Yeah.
And so we'll start towards wrapping it up a little bit, but I just want to find out what you've got planned, what you've got coming up for the rest of the year. You say you've always got 10 to 15 races kind of lined up, so I'm assuming you have quite a bit of travel lined up for the rest of the year. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do a 50k race in Hong Kong in 4 days' time, so on the weekend. I got some photo shoots in Hong Kong, some interviews and stuff like that, which is always fun. A lot of races. I wouldn't sit here and kind of line up the races for the year, but probably another 20 races, 25 races this year. I've already done 7 this year, so it hasn't been too bad. A good start this year already. I always look for different challenges and stuff like that. I'm hoping, like you said, one day, do a challenge 5 marathons in 5 days. But right now is, smaller races, and 100k race in the Blue Mountains in May is probably going to be kind of my main one. As much as I like 100k races, they do require a lot of training and a lot of painful training. So I haven't done a 100k race in 2.5 years just because it's painful. So 50 is a lot more manageable, and I've probably done 20 or 30 50k races in the last 2 years. This year I'm going to go outside my comfort zone a little bit now and do a 100k race, and go to Europe for the summer as well, do some races there. And then the second half, I'm planning to do a race in South Africa towards the end of the year. A lot of races in Hong Kong.
A lot going on.
Hong Kong is one of the main spots for trail running in the world right now. There's probably 300 or 400 races a year there. 3 or 4 races every single weekend. It's a lot of races. It's becoming a place where a lot of people go and race because it's beautiful there for running, especially mountain running. 75% of Hong Kong is national parks, and very accessible as well. If you live in Perth, you got to drive 40 minutes to get to the hills and the trails, If you live in Hong Kong, you're 2K away, no matter where you live.
Wow.
From trails. So it's a good place for running.
I didn't know that. And what would you say to anyone that's listening to this that isn't vegan but's been thinking about it and just isn't really sure? What sort of advice would you give to anyone that's starting to look further into that lifestyle?
Definitely give it a try. I mean, I think 2 weeks you're going to see some benefits for sure, 100%. But also educate yourself, and experiment a little bit on yourself as well. It can be as simple as taking out dairy for a month and seeing how you feel, or taking out meat for a whole month and seeing how you feel. And then today there's so much information online. Just research what you're eating, research where it comes from, research, how it gets to the supermarket shelves. And I think you'll be surprised by maybe it's not all as good as what we thought it was for a long time. And just giving it, what's the worst thing that can happen? You go back to what you did before. That's what I thought. I was like, I'm going to give it a try for 2 weeks. If I don't feel better, I'm just going to do what I did for the first 25 years of my life.
That's right.
And it's only 2 weeks out of 25 years. Doesn't sound like much. So I just gave it a try.
And they say that I think it's roughly 21, 22 days to break a habit.
Yeah.
So, give it a few weeks, try it out, see how you feel.
But I think if you educate yourself at the same time,
yeah,
it'll probably be a lot easier to kind of consolidate that habit or that change.
I agree.
Because when you know why you're doing that change, it's a lot easier to make a change. And that's a long-lasting change as well.
For sure. And where can people find you if they want to follow your journey?
Instagram, Vlad Ixel, Facebook, my website, vladixel.com. But yeah, always doing a lot of traveling and racing. So hopefully, a bit of inspiration for people to make a change in their lifestyle, because like the way I did. And I think if I did it, anybody can do it.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Hope your next run goes really well in the rest of the year. And thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, cheers.